This is very cool. Hey, what's up you guys? I'm Sara Lubratt, and today's video is going to be me mapping out my various projects because I've been in a bit of a reading slump and thus in a bit of a rereading and writing slump because it's all interconnected. And today I just want to sit down and write out every project I have either worked on or have ideas for, all in an attempt to get me back and excited about writing, especially with Q4 planning coming up and trying to figure out timelines for various projects. And just overall a confirmation of my creativity. It's been years since I've looked at some of these ideas, but I have numerous Pinterest boards. I have numerous started documents, and I just kind of wanted to put them all in one place so that I can put this up somewhere in my office. So if I'm ever feeling down or not creative in one project, I can look at this and just remind myself that I have many, many things going on, and it's not just one project that I need to be constantly worried about. I'm in a super comfortable sweatshirt. I have my lovely candle lit. We're going to be writing in Sharpie. These are all great things. So I was on a stream with Autumn Ashley, and we were talking about how it was just a good inspiration to have a written list of the projects you're working on.
That just seems like it would be so inspiring to look at. If you hung that up behind your computer or something, that would just be so cool. I need to write out the books I want to, that I'm working on.
And it just seemed like it would be really reaffirming and kind of allow me to take a look at the bigger picture and not get too bogged down by the little things, and so that I can focus on the bigger picture. I have also pretty much only worked on one project for my vlogs and various videos on YouTube, and that would be my project DE, which I am still currently in the reread of. I got to page 157 today out of 226 Word document pages, but I have been working on this project for the entirety of my YouTube channel thus far, which is totally fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just that my first video posted to YouTube, when I decided that I was going to be posting semi-regularly, was reaching 200,000 words in my project DE, which is crazy freaking long. And then about 6 months after that, I got to 250,000 words, and then I discovered that I was writing the ending to the first book, and then I decided to print it all out, which was one of the coolest experiences. And then I reread that draft one and took extensive notes on it. I did not allow myself to write on the manuscript that was printed out. I ended up making 19 pages of notes in a notebook of relatively big picture changes that I wanted to apply. And then in April, I went through and made those changes for draft 2. And now in my project DE, I am currently working on rereading draft 2, getting ready to rewrite the entire thing to make my draft 3. While project DE has been the main project I've talked about on my channel thus far, I have mentioned a couple other projects mostly in passing and occasionally in a vlog. If I run out of brain power for my project DE, I will work on something else. Mostly my side project CBH, which again is an abbreviation for the original concept of the story, which is the same way that project DE was titled, but that is a science fiction novel about human expansion in space. And it's a book that I've been very excited to write for a long time, and am hoping to start to write a little bit more in as my drafts with the first book of DE progress. So other than DE and CBH, I have only ever talked about one other project on my channel, which was my Persephone retelling that I wrote the first 30,000 words for in Camp NaNoWriMo July as a break between finishing draft 2 of DE and rereading draft 2 of DE. Everything seems to revolve around DE, which is fair, and it deserves that kind of attention. But basically, today I just wanted to sit down and write out all of my various projects that I have either finished, started, they're back burner projects, I just have the idea for them, I have a storyboard for them, whatever. I just wanted to sit down and write them out because I'm honestly not sure how many I have. For a long time I've said that I have 5 more main projects, 2 main projects, LRF and DE, and then 3 back burner projects, which is kind of true. CBH has definitely taken the cake on being the most popular for my personal brain of those 3 projects, at least of what I want to work on next after DE is done, but I just wanted to sit down and write that out, and so that is what we are going to do today. First things first, very easily, we have the book that I wrote in high school, which is LRF. LRF is a young adult dystopian that deals with like genetic engineering in humans and also has dragons and mind control, which are themes that come up in DE as well. But LRF has been drafted. Very rough draft, but I finished that in high school, maybe freshman year of college. So we're just going to add drafted. That thing needs a full rewrite though. So after I take the time to rewrite draft 2 of DE into draft 3, I might go back to LRF and see if I want to rewrite that. It needs so much more work than DE does though. Okay, do not get me wrong. I absolutely adore this story, but oh my gosh, does it need help. I wrote it over a span of like 4 years. The characters are so inconsistent. There's like 4 different main plots going on. It just needs to be rewritten, simplified, and improved all at the same time. But it's drafted. And finishing that draft is what gave me the courage and the endurance to finish the rough draft of DE. And now that I am on almost draft 3 of DE, it seems like every step I take gets me more and more inspired to do various other projects. After LRF, we of course have DE Book 1. This has been drafted. And not only has it been drafted, we are in the second draft. And almost on to the third. So those are the 2 projects that I have finished a drafting process on. And the next one I want to write on here is my project CBH, which is the science fiction about human expansion in space, which is CBH. I will say that I have brainstormed and begun writing, but have not drafted or finished drafting part of this project yet. From CBH, we are going to go on to the next, probably most drafted. Most drafted is kind of a low bar at this point, but most drafted other project, which was probably the Hades and Persephone retelling that I worked on during Camp NaNoWriMo July, where I got, I think it was like I ended up with like 23,000 words in it, and it's really just a fun project. I don't know if anything is ever gonna happen with that, and if it doesn't, I would be okay with it. It was just very much a fun project because I needed a break from DE in July, and drafting something new really, really gave me that relief that I needed. And I'm very much a pantser, and something interesting about that project is that I actually did decide to sit down and attempt plotting it, or at the very least, like loosely outlining it by using the Save the Cat beat sheet. But I'm very, 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 very much a pantser, and so that was a big stretch for me. Next, we go to my little bit lesser thought about projects, but I still have the idea for it, and I want to work on them at some point. And the next one for that would be CF. Yeah, that's what it's called. Again, if you can't tell, I title all of my projects in the same way. I have an original title idea, and then that very quickly goes out the window. But I don't want to be constantly renaming my projects, and so I just give it a placeholder title of whatever the abbreviation of the original title is. So in this case, that's CF. I have probably written a total of 8 pages for CF, and the plot really hasn't fallen into place, but the world is very, very, very much there, and I just need to find the right plot and the right story arcs and the right characters to really make the world shine and make it a cohesive piece. The next one I want to put on here is called FF, and I will tell you what this one is abbreviated from, and that's Femme Fatale. I have read a series of Femme Fatale books, and they're just so much fun. I got to read one literally called Femme Fatale by Jean something when I was studying abroad in Paris with New York University's Writers in Paris program, and that's one of the books that we had to read. I totally feel like I have like the tiny hands right now when I like pull up my sleeves like that. Anyways, circling back, Femme Fatale is another book that I want to write. I feel like this would have to be a standalone, which is interesting because LRF is a series, DE is a series, CBH has the potential to become a series if it's going to be as massively scoped as I think it might be. Project Core, again, like I said, I don't think is ever going to be published, so it doesn't matter. CF, though, I think, again, has the potential to become like a trilogy. I have no idea. You guys, I write like massive projects, So the idea that Femme Fatale might be like a shorter, almost like 200-page book is kind of super bizarre. It's not kind of super bizarre, it is super bizarre. Anyways, this idea has not really been all that thought out. It's mostly just, I want to write a Femme Fatale. I have ideas for it. I have always loved Femme Fatale stories. I have always loved like James Bond, and so I kind of want to write something more in that vein, but I don't have a solid grasp on what that is yet. So I don't know what to write next to FF. I'll just write idea, because it's in the idea stage. I feel like writing idea is fair for where I'm at in conceptualizing this project. Before we continue with more of my ideas here, I do just want to take this time to quick stop and say I'm not writing these in the order that I think I will continue to work on them. I'm just writing these as ideas that I currently have. Some of these might never get written. Some of these might not get written for several more years. Some of these might get written like tomorrow. Like, we do not know the timeline. And this is also not an extensive list of my ideas. Of course, I will be having more and more ideas as I continue on in my life, which is such a blessing about creativity, is you're constantly coming up with new ideas, and I am by no way holding myself to this list. This is just a fun exercise to help me take a look at the bigger picture. This list is also not an extensive list of all of the ideas that I've ever come up with. These are the ideas that made it far enough and have strong enough of either a world or a plot or characters that I think that they would make really good books. Okay, so now I've pulled up Pinterest and I'm just kind of scrolling through my various storyboards that I have on Pinterest, and it's kind of hard and complicated because I have a variety of ideas that don't even have a title. It is just like throwing pins into a board until an idea or a plot or a world or characters emerge from it. Okay, I was about to use this one as an example, but I forgot that this one kind of has a plot down, and so I'm gonna add that to the list. We're gonna call it COTC, and it has 115 pins in this board. COTC, but I'm not gonna even give this one the idea title because it's not even there yet. I think I'm gonna have to give this one a Pinterest board as a note for it in talking about what stage I'm currently on with it. I remember that COTC started as a short story idea, and then I remembered that I struggle a lot with writing short stories. If I'm gonna write something, I feel like it has to be so long because I get entrenched with the world and the characters, and I just don't want to start something and come up with really good characters and world building if it's not gonna last that long, if that makes sense. Like, if I'm gonna get involved with something, I wanna get really involved with it. Okay, so here we have a good example. I have one that's just generically called storyboard, and it has 705 pins. I'm sure that there's like at least 18 different ideas in there. That might just be my like absolute amalgam that's just kind of been growing over time. I'm not really sure, but that's always like fun to like scroll through. That's where I get a lot of my writing prompts from. Okay, my next Pinterest board idea is going to be called FCSO. FCSO. And no, the SO does not stand for significant other. The problem with this one is that I feel like this could almost be combined with my Hades and Persephone retelling, because it almost has kind of like a piratey ocean feel, and that's kind of the feel that that project held. So honestly, I might make a note that these two, I'm just gonna star them, that these two like could have something in common. We might be making absolute breakthroughs in making this video right now, because if I combine those two, FCSO could add so much world building and like more subplots to the Hades and Persephone retelling, which could be very helpful. And then in that case, that project might actually potentially turn into something that I might pursue publishing with at some point down the line. Interesting. Oh, and then I have one that I'm not sure I'm ever gonna write, but it's just a really fun idea. I kind of want to write a children's book about dragons, and I know that I've already touched on how writing short stories is hard for me. If I'm not writing something that's like longer than 100,000 words, I really struggle with it. And so writing a children's book would be very hard, but I like the idea of writing something for kids like the stuff that impacted me growing up and in like my mom reading to me when I was younger. And a lot of those were dragon stories, and there's just something so absolutely magical about a good dragon story that I really feel like I might want to write a children's book at some point in time about dragons. Granted, if I'm writing new adult, YA, whatever I'm writing, I might need to write that under a different name, but have not yet thought about that. So I'm just gonna write children's book down here because it doesn't really have an abbreviation right now. And all that is right now is a Pinterest board. And a lot of those ideas that I have for the children's book, again, I'm just gonna say this because nothing is concrete at all. All of this could change. I could never write this. I could write this next week. Again, we don't know. The idea could change completely. We don't know. However, a lot of it is very much the princess and dragon, like fairy tale, but turned on its head, where it's not a knight that comes to rescue the princess. It's more about the relationship between the dragon and the princess. And I don't know beyond that. I basically wanted to rewrite a fairy tale into something that I would have really wanted to hear growing up. Okay, I'm honestly not sure that I'm ever going to come back to this idea, but at one point in time, I did start a sort of like The Bachelor meets the corporate world, and this was like right after I had read The Princess, the girl. It was a book about a girl named America who was in like a bachelor style scenario. Anyways, it was like right after I had read that, I was like, yes, I want to write one of these about the corporate world. Now I'm like not so keen on that, but I am going to write it down because it is an idea I have, and who knows, it might pan out in the future. Although in order to do that, I think that some major changes to this idea would have to be made. I'm going to call this one Corporate America, and I think you can tell that we're kind of getting into the portion of my ideas where things don't even have abbreviated names anymore, and so these are like a very early stage. So my next idea I actually used for a poem in one of my creative writing classes in college, but I had the idea that I wanted to do a dark fairy tale retelling of the Hansel and Gretel story. I'm not sure if that's ever going to come back up, but I still really like the idea. It just sounds like very dark and twisted, or at least has the potential to be, and that's something that I'm really attracted to and want to explore more. But again, I currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 other ideas currently listed on this piece of paper, and so I don't know if I'm ever going to come back to that, but I am going to write it on the list. I am getting excited about these things. This is very cool. Just because I haven't come up with like a new idea for something in a very long time, I was kind of getting discouraged and down on myself, but it's honestly like been a very helpful exercise thus far, and we're not even quite done with it yet. However, if you are liking this video, please give it a big thumbs up because it really supports my channel. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see me work on any of these at some point in time, and make sure you leave a comment down below of what you are currently working on, because I love engaging with people in the comments, and I always make sure to respond to as many comments as I possibly can. I'm sure that at some point in time I will not be able to, but right now I do really try my best to respond to as many comments as possible. And with that, I'm going to add dark fairy tale to this list. Wow, I started talking so long, my Sharpie started running out. I have one on here that's literally called Storyboard Magic ? Like, it has 9 pins in it, and you can tell that I was trying to form an idea, but like there was just not one there. I'm gonna go ahead and not include that one on this list. I only have a few more on here. Well, okay, maybe not. I only have a few more on here that I'm going to take time to write out on this list, and this one is actually an idea for more of a contemporary, which I was like honestly not sure I would ever write, but we're gonna be calling it HFOE. And even though that is more of a contemporary storyline, it's a story that calls to me so deeply where I'm currently at in my life, and so honestly might need to try to start building that into something because I'm feeling more ready to start working on that. Potentially. The next one I'm going to write down is actually an idea that I think I had early high school when I was in the middle of writing LRF, and that one is called Chosen, and not in the way that you think it is, but this story is another fantasy and is something I'm like very loosely considering maybe starting to think about for Nano this year, if I'm not deeply entrenched in rewriting DE into draft 3. But we're gonna call this one Chosen. Something else I want to know down in the comments below is if you guys write in one genre, in one age category, or if you guys write across multiple, because I know that this is kind of a debate in traditional publishing that you need to write under one age category and one genre, like if you're going to be writing under one name. And if you want to branch out from that at all, then you need to get into like pen names and other pseudonyms. Whereas in self-publishing, I think you can publish a little bit more broadly and not have that be a negative against your name. But I'm just curious, I want you guys to let me know down below what genres you enjoy writing. Ooh, this one is fun. This would be so hard to do because it is a time traveling story. I'm gonna call it TTA. This one would just be like, it's just like fun. Like, I just wish that I could make this happen. It would be so hard and it would take so much research because it is a time traveling story, but it would be so much fun. And I could almost even like mix in like bits of historical fiction into it and just make it like a very, very fun and interesting project. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I forgot about this. Okay, so something else, I started drafting freshman year of high school, which was, what, 9 years ago? 9 years ago, I started drafting this story, which I'm gonna call Portal. And by drafting, I mean I probably got like 2 chapters into it, but oh my gosh. I love the story and the world and the concept. And so if I could get this to work again, and by again, I mean if I could really just get this to work, because I really did only get like 2 chapters into it 9 years ago, but it's a really, really fun idea. Another fantasy story, just fun. Okay, this is awesome. This is the list, you guys. This is the list that I get to hang up in my office now. This is so cool. I might honestly even like frame this. So I'm just gonna quick run through all of what I wrote down, and that is LRF, DE, book 1 technically, but we're just gonna lump the series of DE into this one right here. CBH, my Hades and Persephone retelling, CF, FF, COTC, FCSO, the children's book, Corporate America, Dark Fairy Tale, HFOE, Chosen, TTA, and Portal. Guys, I have 15 books. That's so cool. 15 books that are at least in the idea stage, and like honestly, that's amazing. These are so cool, honestly. Like looking at trends for some of these, a lot of them are fantasy. We're not surprised there, but I have fairy tale retellings. I have stories about dragons, lots and lots of stories about dragons all the time. I have dystopians, I have utopias, I have a children's book, I have a bachelor spinoff, I have a contemporary, I have a variety of young adult, new adults, and adult storylines. This is really cool. This is super cool. All right, like I honestly don't know what else I have to say about this. I'm so happy that I took the time to sit down and write all this out. I hope that you guys choose to do something along these lines as well, and just remind yourself how creative you are, how absolutely amazing your brain is. If you do decide to sit down and write out the stories that you're working on or have worked on, or ideas that you have for the future, I would love to hear about your experience with it. This is just a really great way to remind myself that I am a creative person, and so now I can look at this whenever I'm doubting that. And I think hanging this up in my office is just going to allow me to take a step back and remember the bigger picture. This is really getting me excited about writing again, and it's really the reinvigorating feeling that I need right now to push through my reading slump of rereading my project DE, to start the rewrite, and honestly to get through that and enjoy it, of course enjoy it, but get through that so that I get to start drafting something new. And the fact that I'm participating in Millwordy, I'm doing half Millwordy this year from September 1st of 2020 to August 31st of 2021. So 1 full year I'm trying to write or deal with 500,000 words. And I was kind of worried about not being able to come up with enough stuff to write, but guess what? I don't think that's gonna be a problem. All right, I think that's gonna be it from me today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Sara Lubratt. If you liked this video, please make sure you give it a big thumbs up, because it really supports my channel by telling the YouTube algorithm that you liked my video and that someone else might too. Like I said earlier, if you are not already subscribed and you wanna see me write or deal with any of this and start any of these ideas, make sure you scroll down below and hit that big red subscribe button and that little notification bell right next to it so you don't miss another one of my uploads. I post videos twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays and occasionally do live streams, both on this channel and co-hosted on other people's channels. And so I'll see you guys next time with another video. Bye! Ooh, long video. Ooh, 45 minutes. Ooh, my legs hurt. Oh my gosh, wow. Oh, they're asleep. Oh, okay, they're asleep.